Okay, so we're back talking about programming generic 16-channel UHF handhelds, like the GA-2S, the Baofeng BF-888 series, the Luiton LT-458, Arcshell AR7. There's a whole bunch of other names for them, but they're 16-channel UHF radios. Some of them only do the FRS frequencies. Others are just, 400 to 470 or 400 to 480. So right now we're talking about programming these radios on the UHF business band, the itinerant frequencies. So these are the low power frequencies that are commonly used for business band. So we've got kind of a cheat sheet here. I kind of want to avoid using the big boys, which these are the big ones, 464.5, 464.55, if you can. These frequencies are also very popular. But there's a whole bunch of other low power frequencies that are available that are not nearly as popular. Now, what you need to do is a frequency survey, a frequency use survey. And what that consists of is literally parking a receiver on a frequency with the squelch open, like that. And so you're considering using, I don't know, 464. Let's use one of the frequencies I have in the example channel code here. Sorry. Channel 1 I've got as 46778. Whoops. You don't have to do it with the squelch open the whole time, but it's a good idea to park a radio on the frequencies that you're going to be using, and just listen, because there might be other folks using that frequency and you don't know it. You want to do it during regular business hours, during the week, if that's when you're going to be using the radio. Then you want to go ahead and put together a channel plan. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do 16 unique channels, different frequencies, pulled from pools. You can put in some of the FRS frequencies if you want. It's just important to know which frequencies are in use in your area, and you don't want to use those if you can help it. You also want to figure out what tone or code squelch is being used, and we'll talk about that in a second. So once you figure out which frequencies are being used and which ones aren't, a little kind of hint here is there's a lot of these, like 467 925, 467 9, 467 875. Those are popular. But the in-between channels like 9125, 8875, 86, these ones with 467, 8125 and 7625 are pretty popular. But these ones are not nearly as busy usually. And then there's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 additional frequencies just on 462 and 467. And then you have these are simplex only. They're all simplex only. FRS, and then some additional ones there. So you just want to know who's using these frequencies, who's using the frequencies next to these frequencies. There's a nice little caveat here with these 462 frequencies. The frequencies in between here, so you know, 462.75. Those frequencies, 462.8, 462.825, I would avoid those. They're used for on-site paging, and they are still used. The other ones, 467.75, 775, 825, these are popular at Target. These are part of the Target standard plan. That's Target channel 1, 467.75. Also, the coaster call, the on-site pagers for restaurants, 467.75. So if you're near either of those two things, which you'd find out by parking radio on that frequency, 467.75, I wouldn't use that frequency. You know, 467.7625, that's different. Again, this is also all going to be narrow band, narrow mode, NFM. So then you want to put together a frequency plan using the vacant frequencies in your area. And then do this organized by frequency. And just make sure that when you have channels that are next to each other, you're not using the same PL tone. I mean, you don't have to do this. You can use the same PL tone for every, same tone squelch for every frequency if you want to. That's up to you. I would avoid using 67.0, 77.0, 82.5, 85.4, 88.5, 94.8, because those are default tones. 67 is the big default. If you go with DCS, which I've got a whole thing about that we're not even going to get into right now, don't do the stupid inverted polarity junk. Don't do that. Just do normal. Don't do that, because that just opens up all kinds of problems with falsing. And someone's going to chime in maybe on that, but that's okay. I recommend disabling scan. You can have the timeout timer. I do recommend leaving that on. 60 seconds is a good one. 30 seconds is a good one. Just, you know, because eventually someone's going to sit on their microphone. It's just going to happen. So like I was saying, with the channel plan, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do 16 unique channels, or you can do 8 unique channels and then repeat it again. And so channels 1 through 8 would be channels 1 through 8, say at low power. And then channels 9 through 16 are the same frequencies and tones at high power. This is something that you got to kind of dial in, quote unquote, based on your specific application. But this is an example. So I've done 16 unique frequencies, and I, you know, sorted by frequency to be double sure that I'm not duplicating frequency somewhere. Working with 3 different PL tones. So that, if that's how you want to do it, that's one way to do it. I recommend doing it in whatever way makes you comfortable. If it's too confusing to use more than one tone, just use one tone. But you need to know what tones and DCS or DPL codes are used in your area, so you don't end up just by chance using a tone that somebody else in the area is using. That's a good way to have a bad time. These are actually not bad radios, you know. For what they are, for the price, they're good. They get the job done. I recommend turn off scan, use tone squelch, or DCS if you're so inclined, if you really have to. You could just as easily, and I've done other videos on this, use the FRS frequencies. You've got 22 to work with to fill in this channel plan, and use it for business use. That is legal. You don't have to have a license. You can use the FRS channels for business use. It's legal. period. Now, these radios technically aren't type, certified for Part 95 use, but the identical radios with the frequencies locked in are. So the only difference is the power level on channels 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 is limited to 500 milliwatts, low power. That's really it. You don't transmit on the repeater input, ever, unless you're using a repeater. That's it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's important to look up, and you can find a website, several websites that have the default frequencies for the Motorola, Kenwood, Baofeng, you name it, the default out-of-the-box frequencies for those radios. Some of them are legal, some of them are not. So it's important to know what you're working with. The out-of-the-box frequencies for the GA-2S radios, for example, they're not legal business frequencies. They're within 450 to 470, but you can't just pick a frequency and go. So that's something to consider. That's pretty much it. The programming, we've gone over that. Like, if you guys want, I can make another video in more detail, but I'm just flashing these radios real quick with this channel plan, and then we'll be ready to go. So it doesn't matter if you bought 2 radios, help if I turn the radio on, or 200 radios. You need to think about your particular application as far as power output, and do you really need 16 different channels? Because you might, if you've got 200 radios and several different groups that need to be able to talk to each other. Even hello, radio check. Take a store, for example. They'll usually have hello, 1 2 radio check, 1 2 1 2 radio check. They'll usually have 2, 3, 4 channels. Channel 1 will usually be primary operations. Channel 2 will usually be a talk around for more in-depth conversations. You don't want to tie up the main channel. Channel 3 might be an admin channel. Channel 4 might be loss prevention or a second channel, talk around channel. And then you'll have channel 5, that's a spare. It's a good idea. So, say you really only think you need 1 channel. If that's the case, you need 3. A primary, a secondary, and a spare. Primary, secondary is going to be used if you have something like interference. Somebody is using this frequency now because it's a itinerant frequency and someone came into town and is using it. You need to be able to have something to jump back to. And then having that third frequency helps for the same reason. Talk around. If you're working like a job site and you got a bunch of different guys and they all need to talk to just each other and not everyone talking to everyone else, this is a good application for or a good reason to have 16 unique channels. And I can go into that in another video, but yeah, for most applications, this is actually a pretty good option. Or using the FRS channels and keeping it legal. Of course, you could just go get a license. That's what I would recommend for the business frequencies. But yeah, that's what you're looking at right there. So yeah, thank you for watching. There'll be more of these. Have a good day.